Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Tuesday, November the 25th, 2025, and today's topic will be a continuation of drawing basic forms of the hands. Today we'll talk about the knuckles, but before we begin, welcome back if you're returning and welcome if you're new to the channel. I sketch and post every day and I use a timer to stay focused and to build a habit. I'll start a 10-minute timer. So yeah, I think in 10 minutes you can learn a lot just from drawing basic forms. So I'll link to yesterday's video so you can see the palm, which is basically a square, but it's kind of like a wedge shape. But I like to keep it pretty simple, so let's just warm up by drawing the rectangle. So just doodle something. It's really not a big deal. Just shade one side of it if that helps. And then to add the knuckles, so the hands have all these different ways of expressing and moving and stuff, and so I'm just keeping it basic for now. So for example, if you fold it right here, this kind of thing, like a kind of an L shape, and then just to illustrate that again, that's like the first part of the knuckles. This is just like one approach. There's many approaches to drawing stuff. So this is focusing on like the forms of it, which is sometimes good, like it's beneficial, especially if you're moving it like in space, in perspective and stuff. So when you extend it, it's kind of like this. Like it's not quite as long as the palm. And I'm just kind of estimating. If you want to be more precise, it's about like half, but like if it's moving around and stuff, you can just kind of estimate, but it's this extra like segment thing. And I'm approaching this not anatomically, it's the anatomy is there, but what happens is if you think about too much about like the bones and like muscles and stuff, the drawing doesn't look good. That's the thing. This is to have a good drawing versus knowing anatomy, which it does help. The anatomy is what's giving it its existence, like its form. That's what the anatomy is doing. So first you have to account for like the palm. So that's like the palm area, but the anatomy is, I believe they're metatarsals maybe, and then like tarsals. And then the fingers are the phalanges. But a lot of times you're not drawing that, like where like you don't need to draw that. Kind of like what's going on here. Let's redraw that one. So if I were to redraw that, I would just kind of draw this box like this. And then this part, that's what we're drawing here. Would just be kind of like this. And then just put the fingers. It's going to be these, and the fingers are together in this example. So you're going to have these 3 lines in between because there's 4 fingers. And then it bends. And so we'll do this second set right here. Now there is a slight curve. It's not quite as obvious on the first set of knuckles. So I'm just calling this also like the knuckle right here. That's just my simple way of calling it that. And then the further it goes, the more like curved you'll get. So hopefully that makes sense. And then just for now, like the thumb, I'm just keeping it pretty basic. So let's just like flip it, do the other side, the pinky side. So first you have the box. So I would just draw kind of a box, and then the pinky side has more of a triangle to it. It can also kind of bend upwards, like to a certain extent, like right here. But the main thing here is that there's a form, so that kind of goes upwards a little bit, but like it doesn't Like it can also go upwards like that, but I mean not as much. And then that's like the palm, or like the heel. So the arm is just kind of a cylinder. I can kind of do that sort of thing, but that's what's going on with the the first set of knuckles there. I think once you understand how to draw these forms, then drawing is pretty fun because it's like a sandbox. You're just playing around with simple forms, simple shapes. So over here, let's focus on the next set of knuckles. So I'm going to draw this box, so that's like the palm, and extend, so that's like the next form. And we're keeping the fingers together for now. What happens is that wherever this one is, so I started with the palm because wherever the palm goes, the fingers are going to go with it. And then the next thing is like whatever this thing is doing, like that first set of knuckles right here. So that's going to be like kind of prominent. It's the middle finger and the index finger knuckles. So wherever these go, the fingers tend to follow wherever they're going. So the second set, so this is like the first set, and then there's like a second set like this, and then there's the third set of knuckles, or let's just say this is like that first one. And the reason that I wanted to do this is so that there's form. Like the reason I wanted to show the box is that there's form to the fingers. That's why I wanted to show it like that. And that's why this approach, you don't always have to draw as forms, but it's pretty helpful. And then the thumb, which is kind of put out here somewhere. So I'm just calling the fingers the phalanges. So it actually goes up, like the knuckles right here. Now sometimes you can just kind of capture like the gesture and then add the form. So let's just, for example, and sometimes that's like the best thing. We're focusing on the hand, but a lot of times what happens is, let's say I draw like an arm. Let's just put like, let's say that this is the arm. Let's just go like this. That could be the arm. So notice that that's the cylinder. Usually for arms, I'm going to use cylinders. Like this. And then we can add the box thing that we've been doing. So there's different proportions that you have to learn. In the figure drawing playlist, I do have stuff like proportions, but I'm basically keeping this equal. And then this is just the square. I'm just eyeballing that. Like that's what we've been working on. And then you can add the, like where it folds. So whatever looks, so that's like the first set of knuckles, and then you got the second one, and a lot of times the fingers just sort of follow. Like that's kind of the order of movement. So wherever the arms go, the palm is going to follow it, and then the knuckles all the way to like the tip of the fingers. So I'll zoom into this arm. So it looks like if you zoom in, you have this. So that's the palm. And there is some depth right there. And you have this one. And then it folds, and then you just get this kind of thing. So that's that first set of, so you have a finger, another finger, and another finger. So that's how you get like that kind of thing. So that's the form of it. And then usually these knuckles will be more prominent. kind of like that. And I find it better to experiment on paper just to see. You can always draw that better. It's not too bad. I mean, it's kind of a weird pose. So let's move it. then I'll wrap it up. But yeah, it's better to like figure it out. I mean, so I'm just gonna move this. Sometimes, let's say you draw the palm, but it's like kind of long, like maybe it's supposed to be more square. You can do this, and that'll be like that first set of. So we're keeping the hand kind of together, like the fingers sort of like a mitt, and then you'll have the form right here. That's the knuckles, and yeah. The thumb, it has a lot of stuff because it can rotate. So kind of like that. I mean, that could work. It's a weird pose, but I mean, it could work. But yeah, that's what I wanted to go over with you. So you got these knuckles, and then you got like, so that's a form right there, and then you have like a second set of forms, and they all just kind of like follow each other with like the fingertips kind of just following along most of the time. And then tomorrow I'll talk about like the fingers. I mean, the fingers are their own sort of forms and stuff, but I think it helps to kind of think of it as bigger forms and then going to like the smaller ones because they'll follow each other is what have found. But yeah, that'll be it for today. I want to thank you for joining me for our daily sketching routine. And if you enjoy these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it. And until next time, keep on sketching.